What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Okay, so if you guys don't know, I just recently got engaged. I'll be talking about that a bit more coming up. That happened on my birthday, which was 3 days ago now, I believe. But what I wanted to talk about today is on the news and on Facebook, I was hearing about actor Jussie Smollett is his name, and I didn't know his name before, but I did used to watch the show Empire all the time. I haven't watched it in quite a while because at a point they kind of lost me, and at a point a friend of mine changed their Hulu password, and then they decided they were cleaning house and not giving it to anybody anymore, and I was apparently a part of that anybody, so then I didn't have Hulu anymore, and I'm not going to pay for cable because I just don't do that. I work off smart TV. So anyway, I just was like, okay, well, I wasn't really that interested in Empire anymore anyway. Shout out to Dez. So the thing was, I saw on a friend's post who I really respect and like. His name is Chaz Carter, and he's a comedian as well, LGBTQ comedian. And he had posted, if Jussie Smollett or Jussie Smollett, who names their kid Jussie anyway? Can we stop with the Jussie? It's so annoying. Just be Jesse already. But so anyway, Jussie Smollett, if Jussie Smollett getting bleach poured on him, a noose around his neck, and called the N-word, as well as faggot, doesn't qualify as a hate crime, I don't know what does. It's what Chaz had posted. And it was like, basically saying it's everything that the cops will do to avoid, like saying a black person and an LGBT person has been the victim of a hate crime. And this was all happening on my birthday. I guess the whole situation happened the night before my birthday. So my birthday was like Monday, and I guess this happened Sunday night. And I just remember thinking to myself, it's my birthday and I'm not paying attention to any of that. But I'll get to it at some point. I'll have to look into it. I mean, I'm the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. How can I not pay attention to it? So I went ahead and looked into it a little bit, but I'm not one to jump on the bandwagon right away, because my thing is, in a lot of cases, people just blow situations up. And I don't want to be that person that flies off the handle. And it's not like I haven't done it before. I've done it before, and I felt like a fool afterwards. So that's why I don't really do that anymore. I'm like, I'm going to wait until more facts come in, and then we'll see what's what in the butt. I guess that's kind of an LGBT joke, but it wasn't meant to be. I just always say what's what in the butt. But, because a lot of us do, because we're children. But the thing was, this situation continues to transpire, and I just start feeling like this doesn't really add up to me. Because at first, I hear that in the police interview, Jussie Smollett says that he gets confronted by some guys late at night that throw a couple slurs at him. And what they said was, aren't you that faggot from Empire, N-word? And then I guess argument ensues, or some sort of conversation ensues. And then they beat him up so bad that they break his ribs. They also pour bleach on him. They put a noose around his neck. And then they run away. So later on in TMZ, they end up saying that Jussie Smollett says that they said this is MAGA country afterwards, and that they were wearing red MAGA hats. So now I start to get like, well, wouldn't you remember that? But trauma happens, I know, and sometimes people forget things, and I've forgotten things too in traumatic situations. So I'm willing to give a little bit of a pass on that. But it just seems like it's not really adding up, and it's more to fit a narrative at this point. Then I just leave it alone, because I'm like, I'm just going to let this play out the way it happens. Then a couple friends of mine, one in particular, Jackson McQueen, who is a very funny comedian, and also black, which I think does matter in the way that sometimes when people say these things, a lot of people will throw the, well, obviously a white person would feel this way. But Jackson just put it out there and was like, am I the only one that's thinking that Jussie Smollett's story isn't really adding up? So then I was like, yes, and yes, thank you for saying that, because I was thinking the same thing. And then I read the comments, and there's different people. There's another comedian by the name of Jay Washington, black comic as well, or comic who happens to be black, however you want to phrase that. Good friend of mine. I really like Jay. Super, super funny. Used to be a professional wrestler, but let me not get distracted. So Jay Washington says that he knows that area of Chicago, and he was like, it doesn't add up, because what are the odds that these racists are watching Empire? What are the odds that somebody's gonna, so they wouldn't know the guy from Empire? Then also, why in like -13 or whatever it was at that night, because it's super cold, it's the cold snap, is anybody even going to be out trying to assault anybody? It didn't really add up. How did they know he was going to be there? That's another thing. And then also, that area has a bunch of cameras. So, but at this point, it's all speculation from, like regular people, the laid person, as they would say. So then I go ahead and read into it a little bit more today over breakfast, because I was like, I'm going to talk about this. So I read more about it, and there is an article that like lays it out. And I'll include the link to the article below. I don't know the journalist that wrote the article, so I can't say that I know what his record has been as far as where he is on like race and Trump and any of that stuff. I don't know. So if you end up finding out more, please let me know in the comments. But I will include the article as the first link so that you guys can read all the facts and see what's what. So this article says that it appears that Jussie Smollett's story isn't really adding up, because another thing, well, let me say this too. He refused to give his phone up to the police, which he says that he was talking to his manager at the time of the attack. And it would seem to me that somebody would either knock the phone out of your hand or take your phone away from you if they're about to assault you. I mean, like, people are hearing this happening and they're assaulting you. You could easily say, I'm at the corner of such and such and such and such, and, now they're hot on your trail. But supposedly that's what happens, is that his manager's on the phone. So then the police and the FBI in Chicago, which the FBI are involved as well. So the police and the FBI are like, okay, well, let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. And they asked Jussie Smollett for his phone so that they can verify that he was actually on the phone with his manager, and everything went down the way that he said, get more of a timeline and everything like that. And at this point, FBI and police have gone over hundreds of hours of footage, because there's so many cameras in that particular area, which is another thing my friend Jay Washington brought up. He was like, yeah, in that area, there's cameras everywhere. It just seems suspicious that nobody saw anything. So then Jussie Smollett, also, there's footage of him going into an apartment building and not like at all stopping security to say he's been attacked or anything like that. He just goes into the apartment building, and that's the apartment building that he ends up like filing the report from, calling the police to. And so the police come. He's still wearing the noose around his neck, which seemed a little off to people. That like, I probably would take the noose off of around my neck, even if I held it in my hand to keep it as evidence. I mean, I don't think I'd want the noose around my neck while I'm walking, but this is the way that it goes down. So it is suspicious to me that he wouldn't give up his phone, because if I was attacked in a hate crime like that, and I was a high profile person, and I knew that they were actually going to do something about it, I would do everything I could do to cooperate as much as I possibly could so that they could verify my story. But I really am beginning to feel like the more I read about it, the more I hear about it, I think what happened is Jussie Smollett just had a trick gone wrong. That's what I think. I think he was in Chicago. Somebody cute hit him up on Grindr, and he was like, I'm going to nose this one out. Big dick, hot guys will make you do a lot of shit you wouldn't normally do. And so I think that at one point in the night, he was like, all right, I'm going to go get this dick, get me some rough trade. And then he ended up in a situation where maybe they tried to steal his purse, and he wasn't willing to give it up like that, and they beat him up and he had to get out of there. And then he was like, maybe I'll make this into a story because I want to report it, but at the same time, I don't know what's happening though. It seems, if it's not that, it just would be a terrible publicity stunt, because I don't know what his reasoning would be. So my guess is good as yours when it comes down to it. But just as an openly gay man that has lived that life, I know that every once in a while I've ended up in sketchy situations with tricks. I once got a gun pulled on me, but that's a story for another day. But these are the things that sometimes happen when you're out there. I remember that Echo Park, I don't know if it's still an area like that, but Echo Park used to be cruisy. And sometimes you'd be like, I don't know if this guy's going to bust me in my face or if we're just going to fuck. But one way or another, it's going to be exciting. And so I'm beginning to feel like that might be something like what happened with Jussie Smollett. I'm not buying. Oh, here's the other thing that I got to tell you guys. Include a couple more facts from the situation. The police also said when he made his report that he said that he didn't know their race because they're completely bundled up. It's cold, and they're wearing ski masks, which is something he's maintained from the beginning. So he didn't necessarily know their race. I doubt anybody's going to wear a MAGA hat over a ski mask, but okay, if that's what you say. He didn't mention the MAGA hats in the original interview, and he also didn't mention the "this is MAGA country" thing in the original interview. So it just seems like there's a lot of inconsistencies, and I think when we're dealing with things as serious as hate crimes, we do have to look at all of the facts, and we do have to be able to say, okay, what exactly happened? And I don't think it's victim blaming at all to ask for details. I don't think there's anything wrong with questioning the story, and I've said this over and over, so I'm not suddenly going to change my perspective just because this person actually happens to be an LGBTQ plus person of color as well. I know that should change my slant, and I should be more forgiving of it in that way, or less willing to ask questions, maybe you could say, but I just don't feel that way. I don't subscribe to that. I feel like I have to ask questions, especially dealing with what we're dealing with, because when it comes to hate crimes, there has been an uptick in hate crimes. And I don't necessarily blame our president or our presidency alone for that, the way a lot of people do. I think that's allowing the president to be a scapegoat for a lot of people that are behaving in a way that they shouldn't be behaving. I think what's happening right now in this country is people are at an all-time low as far as respecting other people, and that's beginning to manifest itself in hate crimes, in violence, in even just people are so loose with their mouths right now because they're used to acting that way on social media. Like this is the way keyboard warriors talk, and so in regular life they get out and they're just like, this is the way. And I've even been there, because I've been into it with people on social media before. Now I do a lot less of that, but I used to really get into it with people on social media. And I can tell you honestly, I'd just be jumbled up in just a ball of anger and nerves and just ready to lash out at anybody. And so I think that that's more to do with why there's the uptick in hate crimes and just crime in general, or violence in general. But that's where I'm at on it. I'm not buying this one from Jussie Smollett. And I was all right with his character on Empire. It wasn't like, how sometimes you hate somebody on TV and you're like, I hate that person, so I don't. But I didn't feel that way with Jussie Smollett. I thought his character was cool, and I thought he was representing something that's, a lot of times a taboo, like black in the gay or gay in the black community can be a pretty taboo subject. And so I thought that Fox and Empire were doing a service to the LGBTQ community by having that character on there, because I know people had complained, especially like when there were certain kissing scenes or that kind of stuff, people had gotten upset with that. But Fox was like, and Lee Daniels, who's LGBT, I know that they were like, well, this is the direction of that particular character, and this character is a part of the show, so it is what it is. You like it, you like it. You don't like it, you don't like it. Whatever, it's part of the show. And so I think the overall of Jussie Smollett has been good. So it's not like I'm just looking for ways to defame or take away from, for me, it's not adding up, Jussie. So I'm gonna need some questions. I don't understand you as a rich, famous person going out at 2 a.m. to get a Subway sandwich anyway. I believe you went to get a footlong, girl. But I don't believe that it was a Subway sandwich. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.